This program is for informational and educational purposes only. This program is not a solicitation or recommendation for any investment or security. Investments or securities mentioned in this show may or may not be owned by NEPSIS Advisor Services. NEPSIS Advisor Services is an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Welcome to Journeys with Joni. My name is Joni Rametta, and I am joined by my co-host, Mark Clark.
Morning, Joni. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
It's a great day to be on the radio, isn't it?
It's always a great day to be on the radio.
Are we having fun yet?
We're having fun. You know, this has been a really great experience, I think, for us, because we've been on the radio now for quite a few weeks. They haven't kicked us off yet.
That's good.
And, and, you know, it's getting more fun each week. Last week we had a guest, Beth Wascom, an attorney, and talked about the importance of designated beneficiaries on our IRAs and 401ks and stuff. And, you know, even though I've been doing this for a long time and I know a lot of that stuff, it's so good to hear it, you know, again, and a refresher on the different things that have come up and different life experiences that people have and the importance of, you know, sort of staying into things, which sort of comes back to, you know, our little theme that we're now going to start doing our shows with is, you know, the theme I think for the next couple of weeks is back to. August is usually a back to school, real life for a lot of us because summer's over, vacations are done. And so there's so many things we need to go back to. Get
back in the groove. And, you know, the cool thing about this is all the stuff that we all know we should do, and even last week's show with talking with Beth, everybody's got these situations where they've got stuff financially in their life that they've never gone back and kind of revisited. They think, I mean, we're all guilty, and it's all the stuff that, you know, good Lord, nobody likes to do. And you think, you know, I've got that taken care of, it's in the drawer, forget about it. And the next thing you know, there's a life change. And so the theme of the month or the next couple of weeks is back to, you know, my mind goes to Back to the Future, the movie, the big movie in the 80s. And maybe we should give away a DeLorean. Nobody would want it. But, you know.
A time machine.
A time machine would be great, especially if you're on the side of you've procrastinated and done something negligent by not fixing or, you know, we were kind of joking with Beth of putting all the wires together. And you ended up with a consequence that you didn't have to end up with because you procrastinated and didn't do things and forgot to sweep the corners and, you know, do all the tidy things, which, by the way, I hate doing.
Well, I think all of us do. I mean,
sure
there's so many things that, you know, none of us like to do. But, you know, it's like that saying, and we've talked about it a couple of times on the radio before, you know, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Now we got the shade, but the next best time is today.
Absolutely.
So, you know, if you haven't done it, it's time to go back to that pile. It's time to go back to those IRAs or those 401ks, or it's time to go back to looking at the will and saying, okay, you know, is everything still the same and what do I need to make a change for? Yeah,
when we were talking about the theme of the month, if you will, Joni and I were sitting in the office and we came up with the back to ... if you can picture that in your mind. Back to what? Oftentimes we wait till the end of the year to do resolutions. You know, we get there and we go, okay, this next year, if we fast forward here for a minute and we're in 25th, we're facing 2015, we're going to do this. We're going to, you know, one of the things, this is one of the resolutions I made this year. You're going to laugh when I tell you this. I decided and I committed to myself that I was going to play golf once a week. And it didn't work out.
No, I don't even think you've played golf once a month.
No, I think I've played 3 times and I love playing. But life gets in the way. And,
it does.
And that's the point. You know, get back to. We're facing back to school here in a few weeks. You know, we're getting ready to face back to taxes are coming. You know, the thing with taxes, and we'll talk about this another week, is everybody waits till, you know, after Christmas or right around Christmas, and then they don't have the ability to, you know, make an impact with the decisions. They don't have time to put things in play, and they've waited too long. The other back to is back to the holidays. Holidays, all those things that we have that are intentions that we want to do, you know, start Christmas shopping now. Christmas in July. We had a couple blog posts that referenced some of these things not too long ago. But The back to theme means really, what can I do now that's going to have a positive impact on me in the short future here throughout the end of the year?
Yeah, and I think it's back to, be honest with you, it's back to making a list. Make a list.
Oh, you're going to make me make a list?
Make a list. This is what I want to do. I want to, in August, I want to do, check all my beneficiary designations. In September, I want to, check with my CPA to see how our taxes are going and, that kind of stuff. Maybe it's October, I want to, check to see where we stand on, making donations to charities. I mean, make a list of those things that you want to do between now and the end of the year. And, there's so much satisfaction in checking something off. Mm-hmm. We hate making the list, but I got to tell you, if you make the list and then you start scratching things off when you're done, I actually cheat. A couple of times when I've wanted to do a list, I've actually gone, I've done this, this, and this, and I still have like 5 more things to do. So I make a list of 8 things and I immediately check off the top 3.
That way you feel better.
I feel great because I've got a list of 8. I've done 3. I only have 5 left.
That's
psychologically, that is awesome.
I'm going to do that today.
You're going to make a list?
I'm going to make a list and check 4 or 5 things. I'm an overachiever. I'm just kidding.
You are an overachiever.
But the cool thing about this is, if you think about it, everybody's thinking the same way we're talking today. And everybody's going, I want to do that. I want to do that. And sometimes they need help. They need a coach. They go, well, what are my options? That's why we're here. This is what we love to do. And this puts you in a process that will help you achieve what your goals are and all the things that you wanted to. However, if you would like to be in the same boat you've been in the rest of your life, all the years before this, continue to do the same thing you've always done and you'll have the same results. Or is this back to period of time we're talking about the opportunity that you have to say, you know what, I am going to make a difference. I have options in my financial life and I'm going to control them. I'm going to own them. I'm going to have purpose behind my decision making so that I'm going to be in the best possible situation for myself and my family.
And you know what? Ultimately, we are responsible for ourselves. So
we are.
If you're ready to take responsibility and you need a coach or you need a financial plan and you need somebody to help, steer you and stay with you through the planning and making sure that you get things done, we would love to have the opportunity to sit down and talk with you. Our offices are located at 6230 University Parkway. That's the Home Bank building at University and I-75. You can call us for an appointment at 941-361-1484. And you can go to Journeys with Joni, that's JONI.com. And there you'll find a little green button to listen to previous shows, to register for workshops, or to send us an email. We would love to hear from you. Journeys with Joni. We'll be back in a minute. We'll be discussing some more things about going back to. Get your papers ready. Journeys with Joni. We'll be right back.
Do you know what you own and why you own it? Join us for our next workshop to learn about investing with clarity by calling 941-361-1484 to reserve your seat today. Joni and Mark look forward to discussing the philosophy, strategy, flexibility, and transparency, the 4 pillars of investing, with NEPSIS Advisor Services. Call today, 941-361-1484. That's 941-361-1484.
Welcome back to Journeys with Joni. Just before the break, I said, get your papers ready. We're going to make a list.
She's making me take notes.
We're going to take No, it's time to make a list.
A list, yes.
You said you're going to make a list. You took the challenge. And I think everybody needs to take the challenge. Make a list. Because, it's summertime. It's just about over. Everybody's starting to come back from vacations. We've had great vacations. Some of us have had some interesting college trips. But, school's going to start. So it's time to make the list of those things that we need to get done, because your kids are going to have a list. They go to school, they come home with an agenda. And what does it have in the agenda? It has a list of their homework for the night. We're not going to call this homework because we're not in school.
That's no fun.
It's not fun. But there's things that we need to do. And talking about going back to school, you and I both have rising seniors, as we call them.
Yes.
And so both of us have spent some time out of the office this summer, visiting some colleges, attending some, I've attended football camps. I can't tell you how many football camps I've gone to, but, and I'm not ready to play football by any means, but it is really hot out there. I'll tell you what, when you're down on a football field, it's a lot different than sitting in the stands.
If you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen.
Yes, exactly right. But, that was a learning process. That was a learning process where, I've been planning. I know my son's going to be graduating from college from this year since the day he was born.
Sure.
And there's planning that you did going into it. And then you get to the place where it's time. And then you find out that, there's a couple things we didn't quite do right. But we have time because we're still early. He hasn't graduated.
Right. And I think that's the important thing where you step back and you say, did I wait to the last minute? And, we've both had teenagers for a long time. I now have grandkids coming up here, and young people, and I was guilty, we always like to wait to the last moment. And especially when we don't know what we don't know, we don't know what options are available. Sometimes we're a victim of that waiting to the last minute because we didn't know. But here we are in a situation where we have an opportunity to go deeper and learn what the opportunities are. So when you say the theme is back to, but we're talking today about back to school, you may have grandkids, you may have kids, and they're getting ready to go back to school. And how does that, impact your financials? How can you financially impact them? What are your options? And as we're thinking about making the list and the things that the kids need to do, consequently, there are things that we can do as adults, grandparents, parents, financially that could have an impact on their education. And education is very important. I know it's important to both you and I, Joni.
I think so. Most people, some kind of an education.
Absolutely. So, those things that we have in our life, those lists that we always intended to make, and the things that we're looking at as we're getting ready, as we're up and coming seniors here and we're getting ready to go to the college, if you don't fill out the FAFSA form, if you don't fill out all the financial documents, you don't do your applications to the colleges, the next thing you know, you've waited till it's too late, and now you're scrambling.
There's deadlines.
There are deadlines, and then you're stuck with what you get. And
so there's a list, and most high schools and even colleges have lists. If you go to their websites, have a list. These are the deadlines. You have to register by this date. You have to put deposits in by that date. You have to pick your roommates by this date. You have to pay this. There's all these deadlines. They have lists. So we should have lists too, things that we want to do. So, maybe our list incorporate some of the things on their list.
Sure.
But financially, looking at where we have the funds to pay for the colleges, what opportunities we have. There's grants and scholarships. There's financial aid. There's different choices. And the sooner you start looking at what you have available, the sooner and the better off you're going to be financially. Because if you wait till too long, some of those deadlines are going to be gone and now I can't apply.
Right. One of the other things that comes to mind here in the middle of today's show is back to school. And I just started thinking about this because we had our fourth grandkid not too long ago. I'm not that old, but the fact is you start thinking about their future education. And as grandparents, everybody is passionate. My guess is we probably have a lot of grandparents listening in our audience. And our goal as grandparents is we want to impact financially the grandkids' education. And there are options that you have, different types of accounts that some are going to help the grandchild. Right. Some of them could financially hurt the grandchild. Now, at the end of the day, you're trying to just get money to pay the tuition. But the caution here is making sure, we talked last week about titling beneficiaries. Same scenario here in college, back to school, as you're wanting to help the grandkids. Putting them in the correct environment financially to get what's free or what's available to them with either grants or scholarships is a big component of it. And sometimes a great intention of X dollars given to the grandchild can have a negative impact on them and could cost them more than what the contribution would be. So those are things to really consider as you think about back to school. So, there's a lot that goes into it. Again, it comes back to making the list, It
does.
And if you've waited till, they're seniors in high school, grandparents, to make that list, I'm thinking about the lists of my grandkids. They're from age 3 to about a month now, which I can't believe I have 4 already. But I begin to think about them as I'm starting to do college planning even for them. I don't think you can start too soon.
I don't think you can ever start too soon. And and you know what? I don't always think it's ever too late either, because there's, with planning and all the professionals that we pull in to help our clients do stuff. You've got the accountants and the attorneys and stuff. It's probably never too late either. There's some kind of something that we can do to create your intention.
Yes.
But I think a lot of the times it is people aren't expressing what they want it to happen. If you can't dream big enough and you can't put it into words, then nobody can help you get there.
Right.
So that's why planning is so important. That's why when we're talking to new clients and even existing clients, what's your intention for this? What's changed in your life? What do you want it to do? Dream big. What's your biggest thing? Don't sit there and go, well, I'd really like to be able to do this, but I'm not going to say it because I don't want to say that. Well, say it. The answer is no, unless you ask, and you could still get a no, but it's always a no if you don't ask.
And I like your thought of a list, because if you don't write a goal or a wish down, it stays in the vacuum of, really a wish, and putting it on paper really puts you in an environment where, you're making a reality. And I know we're coming up against a break here, but for those people who don't have kids or grandkids going back to school, you can use this segment of time, August, to get yourself prepared to go back to whatever your school is, getting your house in order, as we talked about. Maybe
Right.
we can elaborate that as we come back on that topic of back to when we come back from the break.
Absolutely. Journeys with Joni, JONI.com is where you can go to get information. Previous shows, our phone number is 941-361-1484. Journeys with Joni. We'll be right back.
Do you know what you own and why you own it? Join us for our next workshop to learn about investing with clarity by calling 941-361-1484 to reserve your seat today. Joni and Mark look forward to discussing the philosophy, strategy, flexibility, and transparency, the 4 pillars of investing, with NEPSIS Advisor Services. Call today, 941-361-1484. That's 941-361-1484.
Welcome back to Journeys with Joni. Just before the break, Mark and I were talking about lists. We were talking about the back to theme that we have for August. And specifically today, where we're talking about back to school, because August is the time when all of our kids are going back to school, especially in the state of Florida.
Yes. Time is ticking. Here it goes.
Time is ticking. Yeah, the summer is gone. I mean, that thing flew by so fast.
Yeah, and here we are looking at seniors starting their senior year, and the reality of how do we get here so fast? It's like a blink of an eye, and boom, here we are.
Yeah, and we're not 21 anymore ourselves, since we're going to have 21-year-olds or 18-year-olds in our household.
Some days I think I am. Mentally, I don't know.
Yeah, well, sometimes we don't grow up, do we?
I refuse to grow up. That's no fun.
But we're talking about the importance of lists and how, institutions, colleges, and schools, I mean, they even have a supply list if you're in elementary school. So lists are important, and I think it's, we've talked about in a couple of sessions ago, well, maybe it was a month ago now, we talked about the importance of having a coach and a mentor, and the importance that I found in writing my goals down, because once you write them down, they're in ink. You don't write them in pencil. I actually wrote them on a computer, but that's ink. And they're a goal that you want to reach, and you've got to reach big, because, if you shoot for the star, if you shoot for the moon and you land in the stars, at least you're in the stars.
Sure.
So at least you're someplace you weren't, then. But you've got to put the goals down. You've got to have a list of the things that you need to get done, and then you need to talk to somebody, your attorney, your CPA, your advisor, us.
Right.
And that's what we ask our clients to do. Write those things down you want to talk about. Make some notes before you come in and meet with us. The questions you want to ask, the goals that you have. Because, it's sort of like going to the grocery store. It's like, I need 5 things. I go to the grocery store. I buy 10 things. I go home. And one of the 5 I was supposed to bring home, my son goes, Mom, where's the milk? And I'm like, darn, I forgot the milk, but I got 9 other things. And he's like, well, why didn't you write it down? Yeah, exactly. Why didn't I write it down? Because what happens is you get in there and you're overcome with all the choices that you have.
Yep.
So I go in there with wanting 5, come out with 10, and I'm missing one of the most important things. So if you don't write the list, you may miss something. So
And-
let's write a list.
You also missed the opportunity to use the coupon, because over the weekend I went to the store and I bought a bunch of stuff. I got home and my wife says, "Yeah, I had a coupon for that, and I had a coupon for that, and I had a coupon." If I'd have had a list and we'd have communicated it,
Right.
like we do in the planning process,
Right.
you have the opportunity to evaluate and look at your options. And I know we're in this back to, and I think this is so. I think this is worth sharing. We kind of joked about this at the beginning of the show, the Back to the Future movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about the story of the Back to the Future. And when Marty went back in time, somebody told him about this Yahoo stock. And if you remember the first Back to the Future movie, he bought Yahoo and was incredibly wealthy because somebody gave him a tip. Somebody gave him advice, and he acted on that advice, and it turned out to be a boom for him. Now, he had to have all the gigawatts and all the other things that went into the planning process of getting the car back and forth to and from the future. But the point is, they were organized. He acted on a tip, and he took advantage of it. And as you kind of alluded earlier in the show, in that tree that somebody planted 20 years ago,
Right.
and that thought that was planted in his mind way before Yahoo was even something that was up and coming, it was years later that harvest was made. And again, it comes back to, if you do things with a purpose, if you do things with intent, you have an opportunity as you go back to, and there are a lot of people listening that don't have kids going back to school, but this is your opportunity to come back. There's a reason, like you alluded to, Joni, there's a reason we have lists when we go back to school, right down to the, the crayons, the glue, and the tissues.
Right. Like even the kind of crayons. So, you can have a general list and you can have a very specific list. But, we need a list. We need a list of going back and looking at those opportunities that we have, that we missed. Sometimes you have an opportunity you missed. So maybe you don't have kids in school yourself, but you've got grandkids in school, or you know somebody who has had something has had some disadvantages in their life, and you want the ability to help them.
Right.
It's sometimes it's about giving back to the community. What else can you do? So even though it's back to school and you may not have a school person in your own family, there could be somebody around you. Maybe you can donate school supplies to a school for those disadvantaged kids. There's so many opportunities if you start making a list of the things that you want to do and the impacts that you want to have in your life. And then the most important part, I think, too, is you have to communicate it to somebody.
Right.
You can't make the list and put it in the drawer because it's not going to happen. You need to communicate it to somebody who's going to hold you accountable for that list.
We have an opportunity to make an impact on people that are in our lives. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's one of the most important things that we're blessed or charged with. And believe it or not, you have the real opportunity to make a positive impact. And I don't care how much money you think you do or how much money you don't have or what your economic status is, you have an opportunity to make an impact. And the difference is taking action on what your heart desire is, or sitting there and saying, oh, I wish I could do that, or I wish I could do that. The fact of the matter is you can. And the fact of the matter is you can do things that you didn't think are possible. But if you don't take action today, you never will have shade. And if you continue to do things the way you've always done them, getting to, December 31st and go, okay, my New Year's resolution is to play golf once a week.
Right.
That would have been nice. I'd have probably been sleeping on the couch a lot, but so I'm an overachiever. But if I never had that intent, if I never have a purpose behind what I'm trying to do, and I never put it on paper and write it down, I'm never going to achieve it.
Well, and you know what? You also have to put it on the calendar. You have to put it on the calendar. And, you can always cancel the appointment for the golf, for the tee time. But if you never put it on the calendar, it's probably not going to happen, because what happens, other things get put on the calendar. And the next thing you know, you don't have time this month to go to have, or this week to go do that tee time.
So Joni's challenged me this week. I'm going to do two things. So, folks, those of you listening to us, this is a great opportunity for you to come in and do the same thing.
I'm going to write this down.
I'm going to make a list and put a tee time once a week on my calendar.
Okay.
Oh, just don't tell my wife. She'll string me up. That's correct. If you don't schedule it, how many times you talk to somebody, say, hey, we'd like to have lunch. Put it down, put it on the calendar. So I know we're out of time. We're running up against the clock here, Joni, but back to
The month of August, back to. Thank you for sharing your time with us today. We hope that you learned something interesting and new. If you missed any portion, go to journeyswithjoni.com, that's Joni, where you can find a replay of all of our shows, our workshop dates. You can send us an email. You can read our quarterly reports and updates. Make that list. Take out that pen and paper right now. Make a list. Start with 1, 2, 3, and 4. Give us a call at 941-361-1484. Journeys with Joni will be back next week. Until then, thanks for listening.
This program is for informational and educational purposes only. This program is not a solicitation or recommendation for any investment or security. Investments or securities mentioned in this show may or may not be owned by NEPSIS Advisor Services. NEPSIS Advisor Services is an SEC-registered investment advisor.